Welcome to the Video Lab live show. Today I have special guest Jeff Pickett from Forefront Studios. Jeff and Vince over there at Forefront are killing it in the video production side and just moved into a new studio, which we will probably talk about here in just a couple minutes. So in this episode, Jeff and I are going to be talking about the importance of storytelling in your video marketing and hopefully offer some insight into how to go about telling your own story to build trust with your customers, but also maybe, I don't know, maybe, hopefully we can get to this, how your product or service enters into your customer's story, to fill a need that maybe they have. So I don't know. There's going to be so much here that we might not even scratch the surface, but hopefully we will generate, some ideas for you as you think about video marketing. Now, if you have any questions for Jeff, make sure you toss those into the comments or the chat. In this episode, Jeff is going to give his one thing. At the end of this episode, Jeff's going to give his one thing. Hopefully you prepared this, Jeff. We'll see. His one thing that you need to take away from this episode. If you don't get anything else from this episode, this whole conversation, if you don't get anything else, Jeff's one thing is something you don't want to miss. So make sure you stick around for that. If you don't know me, my name is Caleb. I own Hoover Heights Media, and I've been doing small scale freelance video production since 2012 in and around Sioux Falls. And I kind of focus on social media video and video for websites that I do for my clients. I also have a YouTube channel, which is very niche camera content, and it's not for everybody. It's just my name if you want to check that out. But I also work with brands through that channel from around the world to make video content. So the Video Lab live show is a mostly weekly, Jeff. I mean, we don't have an episode next week because of the holiday, but mostly weekly. It's an interactive live show to help companies, brands, and individuals harness the power of online video. That's right. Online video. With video-specific marketing tips, tricks, and trends. The interactive part of this means that at any point during the show, and I have this up on the screen, any point during the show, you can jump into the comments or the chat if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook and bring your questions about the topic we're talking about in this episode. And LinkedIn, I think, is still figuring out their whole comment thing on live feeds. It's just weird. We're streaming live to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, like I said. The Video Lab, we're in the Video Lab, which is a content creator video studio in downtown Sioux Falls. So if you have a video content that you need to make, something like this podcast style video or talking head training video, I am going to toss this QR code up on the screen here if I can find it. And you can learn more about the Video Lab at hooverheightsmedia.com. Now, I do just need to put this little disclaimer in, Jeff, before we get into this conversation. Yes, these episodes are just to show some possibilities that you have with video, but doesn't necessarily mean everything is going to work like magic for you. It requires a ton of hard work, consistency, maybe some strategy, and possibly even partnering with professionals like Jeff or myself to get the results that you're looking for. So with that said, let's bring in Jeff. And this guest intro is sponsored by The Breaks Coffee.
Your attorney told you to say that earlier part.
Yeah.
It's good. Smart.
Yeah. You can give me that $20 later. Okay, yeah. Cool. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So Forefront Studios.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Forefront Studios, probably very much like Hoover Heights Media. Vince and myself, Vince Don, came together a couple of years ago and said, hey, we're liking what we do in the video space. So what if 1 and 1 becomes 4 instead of just 2 people?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun to have a video production agency, if you will, where it's 2 people. And we shoot content for small businesses, for nonprofits. And, we hope to help people kind of propel their organization or their service.
Yeah, excellent. Now, you have a new place.
Yes, sir.
That you just moved into.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, the place we had was over by the Bread and Circus Sandwich Kitchen.
Okay.
About 1,000 square feet. Studio space was, I don't know, half of that maybe.
Yep.
And so our new location is a little bit farther, let's see, south on Main Avenue.
Yep.
We're between 9th and 10th Street in the old Gasco building.
Which I did find the other day when I
Yeah,
stopped over.
You did. And it's about 2,000 square feet. So we have room in this space for many different sets, if you will. So we have a corner for podcasting. We've
Nice.
got another area that we're going to do some special secret stuff.
Yeah.
But we've got different backdrops,
NORAD?
brick and white,
Yeah.
white walls. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Excellent. Now you also, don't you have like a conference coming up or something?
Why, yes, we do.
Okay.
It's almost like a bird told you.
Yeah,
that,
I know.
right?
You have to tell us about that.
Yeah. So we've been planning this for almost a year. It's called the
Nice.
I Hate Marketing Conference.
I Hate Marketing
I Hate
Conference.
Marketing, yes.
Love it.
So myself, just to throw out some names here, we've got Melissa Heckel from Branch Creative, Maddie Pashong, Michelle Garrigan, Phil Brinks, Peter Aldall, Pete Kleinjohn, and then myself and my partner, Vince. And so our goal is to say, hey, there are so many hats that you have to wear as a marketer.
Yeah.
And you know this like I do. Like we all have our strengths, but we certainly have our weaknesses.
Yep.
And why don't we get some tips? But if you do need that additional help, let's listen to the experts around the Sioux Falls area.
Yeah.
And if these individuals need that extra help, then we'll be there to answer questions and support. So it's a half-day conference from about 11 till 5. We'll have lunch scheduled. John Meyer will be hosting.
Cool.
And we'll just have a breakout. The cool thing about the interaction, though, at the conference is that typically when you go to a conference and you go to breakouts, there's only one person or one breakout per person.
Yep.
And for us, we're going to have 2 breakouts. So you have 2 opportunities to really see the people that you want to take a look at.
Cool.
And at the end of the conference, there's going to be a networking opportunity. So people will be able to kind of chit chat with people who are in the same booth that they're in.
Okay.
And hopefully exchange ideas. And we're hopeful as this first year kicks off that this will just be a good community where people can rely on each other to say, hey, what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, cool. And you might have said this, but who is this conference for?
So it's for marketers and business owners.
Okay.
Who just feel like they're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Excellent. I love it. Well, do you like coffee, Jeff?
Well, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We're drinking the Breaks coffee. Thank you, the Breaks, for sponsoring the coffee. And I'm just going to pop this up right here real quick. I got to my mouse is kind of all over the place here, but the Breaks Absolute Blend is what we're drinking here today. And you can find the Absolute Blend through thebreakscoffeeroasting.com, or you can stop into their shop down by the downtown post office, and they're open Tuesday through Sunday. So not today, they're not open, but starting tomorrow. And you can find the Absolute Blend. I have it right here. We brewed it in the office and it smells fantastic.
It does.
And sorry. Threw me off of there a little bit. Yeah. Thank you, Breaks, for sponsoring this episode and the show for us to drink coffee. It's great. Okay, so Jeff, we are talking about storytelling and video marketing specifically.
Yes, sir.
Right now, I kind of feel like we hear this all the time. It's almost like a cliche, right? Like, tell your story,
right.
Get your story out there. Can you define for us what wewe're talking about?
Yeah, it is a disgusting cliche how many times people use the word story. And that's exactly it. Everybody says, well, tell your story. For some people that might make sense. I think for a lot of people, it's like, well, what's that mean? And then they're like, oh, well, when I was 3, I did this. And when I was 7, I did this. No, not that story.
Gotcha.
So we need to define what our story is. And I do personally, I believe that everybody has a story to tell.
Yep.
But in terms of video marketing, you need to start thinking about your story in terms of your business.
Okay.
What's the business's story? And make it enticing, make it interesting to your customers.
Yeah. What are some, what are pieces of that story? So you're talking about your business story and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would be some key pieces in there?
So I think the most important part that people don't understand about your brand story is so oftentimes you open up a website and you see pictures of a building and you see, maybe the product itself.
Yeah.
And I mean, that makes sense to an extent because it's why you go to a website to find out about a product. But what we find and the research kind of backs this up is that we need to focus as marketers and as video marketers, we need to focus on the customer and their needs. And that's kind of where the story begins.
Yeah.
It's much like movies and books that are out there. You need to have a central character,
Okay.
and that's not always going to be you.
Right,
It's going to
right.
be the the customer and the need. Because if you think about like a lot of small businesses, how do they come into business? Well,
Yeah.
it all starts with somebody saying, "Hey, I wish that they made this product
Right.
because I have this need."
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of small businesses do start. Somewhere along the way that we kind of forget about that and we start to talk too much about ourselves and not about that specific problem.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So that's really where the brand story, kind of comes into play. And an example I like to use a lot is pretend that you go to a chamber mixer or
Okay.
church or a bar,
Yep.
and you're beginning to have a conversation with somebody. What if they decided to just sabotage the entire event by just talking about themselves the entire time?
Okay. I would get bad vibes.
Right,
For
right.
sure.
So pretend, again, wherever you're at, pretend that this individual comes up and you find out very quickly that they're a plumber.
Mm.
And all they do is talk with you about this new faucet that they just got in. And you're like, okay, yeah, it's interesting. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
it turns hot and cold really quickly.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Fantastic.
But what if you are not what if you live in an apartment
Mm-hmm.
and you're thinking, okay, like I don't need to know anything about this. I have the maintenance guy that changes out my
Yep.
faucet if I need to. I don't
Yep.
own a house, so I don't care. So this person keeps talking and talking and talking, and it's all about them and all about their product. And it feels like somebody's just handing you a weight
Oh,
and
yeah.
adding more weight
Yeah.
as the time goes on.
Yep.
And you're looking around the room, you're like, "Ooh, I'd like to talk to that person. I'd like to talk to that person." But this plumber just keeps talking to you.
Right.
And I think that's where marketing can go awry is when you just keep talking to people who just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's just start to peel back the layers of the onion a little bit.
Now I kind of consider you a storytelling or story brand evangelist. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now you have like some training and everything in this type of marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your background and some of those different areas and those trainings that you've had?
Yeah. So many years ago, I mean, I just love to do video, and I never ever have considered myself an expert in what I do, because it's like I always feel like I'm the student and I always want to learn more. And one of the first books I ever read about on branding and story was a book by Patrick Hanlon. I think is his last name. It's called Primal Branding.
Okay.
And so
I've heard of that.
I know that
Yep.
YouTube used to recommend him as a book that you should read.
Gotcha.
And I really dug into that. But a couple of years ago, there's a book by Donald Miller called Story Brand.
Yep.
And I read
Excellent.
that and I was like, whoa, holy
Yeah.
cow, this is a game
So good.
changer.
Yeah.
So I spent more money than I care to reveal. And I went down to Nashville and spent a week
Nice.
with his team
Yep.
and became a certified story brand guide. And so that has really helped to enlighten those that we work with around what does storytelling mean and what's the right way to do it so that we're not wasting our time on marketing.
Yeah. And now you're kind of in like another area as well with kind of a newer storytelling aspect as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So there's a gentleman named Patrick Moreau. He's an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker. He has a company that's based out of it's Oregon or Washington. I honestly I forget which.
Yep. Out west.
Called Muse. Yeah. And his way of storytelling is very much centered around a hero.
Okay. Yep.
But in a unique way where it's a storytelling process that really does kind of dovetail into a unique individual or someone who's maybe a benefactor of like a nonprofit story.
Gotcha. Yep.
There's other, I mean, it depends upon the business or the individual, but it's very character driven in the story. And not to say like story brand can be character driven also, but the Muse storytelling process is very, very intentional. You get really into the weeds around story.
Yep.
There's some cool stuff I can tell you about that too.
Excellent. So. Okay. We'll get into that. We did have some come in on the chat here. Matt, thanks Matt for the comment. LinkedIn.
Wait, somebody's on LinkedIn?
You did it through LinkedIn. It's amazing. Matt asks, Jeff, how do I buy tickets to this conference that I Hate Marketing conference that we talked about just a little bit ago?
Visit ihatemarketing.com and buy your tickets there.
Nice. Excellent. Any price point that we're looking at for the tickets?
$75 for the event.
Okay.
And then it gets you a box lunch.
Nice.
And a lot of good little digital swag that we're going to throw in there with some giveaways too. Oh man. Several thousands of dollars in giveaways.
Sweet. No digital swag. I like that. Swag. Now, before we keep going, I'm just going to bring this up. If you have questions about, video marketing, if you're kind of exploring doing it on your own, I encourage you to go and download this video playbook that I put together. It is a free digital guide to help you enhance your web presence with video. And I need to scroll through here, and it has a ton of stuff in here to help you get rolling with video content. I mean, even if you just want to start shooting it with your phone, there's I have some like current trends in here of what people are doing with video, and then getting started with video production, just like use your smartphone, just get started. Right. And so a couple things like, a desk light or a wireless mic set. And then it goes all the way through like how to put videos together, and then specific examples of like real estate, fitness. So it's what some people are doing in these different niche markets and these different communities that might be helpful. So I encourage you to go down. It should be in the link for it should be in the description of the video here. And so I encourage you to go and download that in exchange for your email address, and it's free. So you take it, you run with it, and start using that video out there. So, all right, Jeff, let's keep going on this. Yeah. Now, we were kind of getting into a little bit before I, started, I asked you something else, but let's, these critical pieces to the story. Like you mentioned that there was like somebody basically saw a need that somebody had, and that's like a critical component to a brand story, really. Yep. What are some other pieces that you've noticed kind of in businesses and, maybe people just trying to get some influence out there as well? Like what are some pieces of those stories that you see?
Yeah. So I think that the most important part, first off, is to know who is your audience.
Okay.
What is that, you always hear the avatar. That's kind of the cliche way to put it, but it's true. We, Vince and I had a gentleman that we met with recently, and we said, okay, so who is your audience?
Yeah.
And he sold insurance, and he said, well, my audience is men and women who are 20 to 70.
Yeah.
And I just kind of chuckled. I'm like, well,
broad range.
That's like everybody, buddy. So
everybody who needs insurance.
Yeah. So can we like limit that down? So in his case, like we're like, well, so we because of healthcare these days, like, really insurance probably doesn't really start to get purchased by people until they're like 25.
Yeah.
Because, people who are younger can get on the insurance policies.
Yep.
So we were able to narrow that down, but it's super important to know who is that audience and to try to niche that down as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it's just like if you're playing darts, for example, you can score points by getting to other parts of the board, but if you aim for the middle of that board, that's where the dart's going to go.
Yeah.
And even if you don't hit the middle, but you get somewhere in that vicinity, you're going to win. And it's the same way with marketing and knowing who your customer is when you do start to create content, video content especially, and you put that out there, there is this kind of a halo effect that's going to occur. At least you're going to hit something that's closer to who you want than to just try to go anywhere. And the darts are all over the place. And there's no points, to go down that cliche there. Sorry.
Now, do you, like when you meet with clients and things, do you run through this process almost every single time?
Yeah, we really do, just to practice kind of what we preach. We do kind of qualify them on what they're looking for. But if we feel like they're really needing something around story brand, then we'll go through a workshop with them and their team. Yeah. And that's kind of cool also because sometimes the left arm doesn't know what the right arm's doing.
Totally.
And so one that comes to mind is we worked with an ag company recently, and they brought in marketing, sales, human resources, operations, and then the ownership also was a part of the conversation. And it was unique for them to express what they thought were those areas that we needed to resolve in this workshop. And it's kind of an aha. So they learned a lot about us. We learned a lot about them. Yeah. And the outcome was really positive for them to understand, to kind of come together.
Right. Now, like we talked a little bit about, story brand from Donald Miller, and which is absolutely fantastic way of marketing. Yeah. I tried to model some of my website with that, you know what I mean? With that concept and everything. I don't think I totally nailed it, but but the elements are there, you know what I mean? And the critical piece to that whole like story brand thing is you are not the hero of that story, right?
Right.
Like your customer is the hero of that story. Now, do you have some insight or maybe some examples or something of kind of how that's played out with either brands that you see on TV or some brands that you worked with or something like that? Like, what does that look like? Like you kind of being the guide that kind of guides the hero of the story, which is the main element for story brand.
Sure.
You have any insight on that?
Yeah. So like to level set, and this is the example I love because it's what I grew up watching, but whether you look at movies like Star Wars or Rocky or Harry Potter or the Hunger Games, oddly enough, and I can prove this to you, they're all the same movie.
Yeah.
They really are. So let's just pick on let's pick on Star Wars for an example.
I love it.
Who's the hero of the story? It's Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And obviously that's what everything focuses around, but Luke would never become who he was if it wasn't for Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first movie. Yeah. Because Obi-Wan knew who his parents were. I hope I don't spoil anything for anybody out there.
If we're spoiling Star Wars for you, we apologize.
But so, he had empathy for Luke and his situation, but as a Jedi Knight and a Jedi Master, he also had authority.
Yeah.
And so those are two key things that a guide should have. And so as it turns out, when we do work with clients, you as the business owner, you're the guide and your hero is the customer. Yeah. And so your goal is to make your customers' lives a lot better for them to, maybe go through some sort of a transformation.
Right.
And so that's an important part for people to understand is, don't think about the typical billboards that we all see. And I hate to pick on certain industries, but like healthcare, realtors, attorneys, please don't sue me. These are the individuals.
Not sponsored.
Yeah. Where they take that, they got this pose like from American Chopper. I call it that.
Yep.
They're and it's all about them. And it's like, well, how do you invite people into the story if the billboard is all about you and not my broken bone?
Yeah.
Or not, I want to help me understand how I'm a part of that. Don't just put your picture of the business owner up and make some statement and have me call you.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the story. Yeah. I want you to know that you're going to help me.
I like what you said about, like we have a product or a service as a small business, whatever that might look like how can you improve the life of your customer, basically, is what it
mhm.
comes down to.
Right.
Like
Right.
this product or service that I offer, how can, first of all, how do we almost kind of create the need that maybe they need this, they might already need it, but sometimes you might need to create that need. But like, but how can I improve their lives
Yeah.
with that?
And there's actually some psychology around
Psychology.
this that
I was a psychology major in college.
Were you?
I was. I
Nice.
graduated with a psychology degree.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'm
you're,
not going to talk about my mom in front of you anymore.
I just
then.
got excited about you talking about psychology. So
So like within StoryBrand, you have the character, but then the next thing you've got to talk about is the problem that they
yeah.
have. So
Yep.
whether it is a plumbing problem
Mm.
or a snow blowing problem or
Yep.
whatever, you want to identify 3 areas. You want to find out, first off, what's that external need
Oh,
that
yeah.
person has. So for example, if it is let's just go down the plumber route. My faucet's not working.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So externally, I need a new faucet.
Right.
Internally, I'm frustrated because I'm
Yeah.
turning this thing on and I'm not getting any water out
Yeah.
of it. Right.
Yep.
And then philosophically is that third level. Like, as a homeowner, an apartment dweller, whatever, everybody deserves to have the right to indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
So it's important to think about that. And it sounds kind of maybe woo woo, but if you think it's spelled WOOWO.
Okay.
But if you think about that and approach it from that level, just about anything that's out there that you buy or sell, product or service, you have to think about it in those terms. And when you're able to distill it to that level, then it helps you to see things from the customer's perspective.
Yeah.
And again, that's the important part that a lot of us kind of forget about.
Now, a major thing in video right now is like social media video. I mean, it's all over social media video. Like how do we take what you're talking about? Because honestly, it seems like a very big thing, like storytelling, like how do I come up with all these stories and everything? Well, when it comes to social media video, like how do we incorporate our story into like stuff like that?
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
If I'm a small business owner and I'm like, I just know I need to do video content. And now we're talking about like storytelling in that video content. What does that look like especially in that regards?
Sure.
I
think just relate to your customer in the best way that you can. Don't pick up your baby and wag her around for the camera or I don't know, there's all the little dances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's great for like personal.
Yeah.
If you're a dancer, I suppose.
Yeah. I totally am.
Yeah. But just think about, for example, so, we've talked about the breaks and coffee.
Yep.
I'm looking for a sponsor too, but just show, you could show yourself, enjoying a cup of coffee, although that's taste. You can't really translate that through video or whatever, but
the experience of it, maybe.
And I mean, doesn't it suck when you go to drink a cup of coffee and it tastes like crap?
Yeah.
Of course it does.
Yes.
So you want to show people, hey, this coffee that we make, you can get it whole bean or we can grind it for you right at the store. There's different ways that you can show people how that product or service is. And you just kind of act out what you've thought about. Like, hey, when you buy a whole bean, doesn't it suck when you get home and you find you don't have a grinder? Well, hey, we make these grinders or we grind them at the shop.
Yeah.
Or you refer them to maybe another product that they can use in addition to yours. So there's a lot of different ways that you can, quote unquote, kind of tell the story, but just make sure that it does kind of focus more or less on the customer. Now, the other thing you can do, and this within the StoryBrand guys, GUISE guys, is that you can talk about yourself, and you should. You again, the key aspects about a guide are that they have empathy and they have authority. So talk to that camera, talk to to your audience in a way where you're showing empathy for them. Hey guys, I know what it tastes like to drink crappy coffee. And that's why we made this, we sourced out this whole bean coffee from Guatemala. And we've been doing this for 15 years. So you're you're meeting them where they're at because, hey, you know, or I know what it's like to drink bad coffee. I created this thing,
Yep.
and I've been doing it for a long time. So therefore, you know, they always say that you like to do business with people who you know, like, and trust.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's part of how you can build that know, like, and trust is
Yeah.
having empathy, but also authority.
Excellent. You know, I think another good way that's an excellent example. I think another good way might be like client testimonials as well.
Yes.
Might be a good way to kind of
Yes.
like experience that journey. You know what I mean? Like of, let's say you're a real estate agent, you know, and
Mhm.
you have a ton of clients, like get their story
Yeah.
of where they were at in the process of purchasing a home and
Mhm.
how frustrating it can be. And then you're the guy that comes along to help them in that.
Yeah.
Do you do much with client testimonials?
Oh, tons.
Yep.
And that's a great little segue there. When you think about when you make purchases these days, and most of us are making a lot of purchases
Yeah.
online.
Yep.
What are we
Absolutely.
doing on Amazon is
Oh,
we're,
yeah.
you know, looking for the reviews.
Yep.
So, you know, I, as a business owner, what am I going to say about my business? Well, of course, I'm going to say glowing things about it. You know, we all would.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
But who really matters is those clients
Yeah.
and what they have to say about, you know, said business. So, you know, peer to peer, we're going to always put more trust in somebody that we know or someone that has done this already. So yeah, client testimonials are massive. And, you know, the questions that you can create to have people answer really can dovetail into the whole story brand.
Yeah.
Where you are able to talk about the experience that they had and, you know, the empathy that you showed for them. So yeah, client testimonials are massive.
Yeah.
And they're not easy. So
Yeah. Right.
that's tougher.
Yeah.
If you want to try to shoot video yourself and you're asking people questions,
Yeah.
that's hard.
Yeah.
So
It is.
if you want me to say something really good about Hoover Heights Media, but I'm like, you're right there. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
say good things
It can be
about you.
awkward.
It's kind
Yeah.
of weird.
Yeah.
So having a third party, a video production company that is strategic, they can help you with those questions and the setting and be that third, you know, perspective, that other person that can talk and get the right answers out.
Yeah. And I kind of like with client testimonials too, is like you can kind of guide the conversation too. So like you might have one client that like maybe their particular situation, let's go back to real estate, for example, like maybe their particular situation is they were moving here from out of town, you know, so there you can have them talk about that specific thing about moving here from out of town. Well, maybe this other client that you have, maybe they're like, they want a different school district or something, you know? So from that perspective, you can collect information and content about that specific thing, which I think that's one of the things I really love about client testimonials is you can kind of guide that situation and kind of on almost like, you know, we've talked on this show several times, like about, you know, coming up with video content and, you know, answering frequently asked questions and things. Like client testimonials are a great way to kind of answer some of those questions that you get on a regular basis as well.
Sure.
So you can kind of guide the conversation, show how you were the guide, you know, because they'll be saying, I've never had a client testimonial where they're like, oh, this product sucks. You know what I mean? Like I've never had that.
Interview over.
Usually if it's a client testimonial, they have some good things to say. So, so as far as like kind of guiding that conversation, I love that. And it fits so well into the story. And I think those client testimonials can really be good for social media because I mean, you can chop those down and get, you know, 60-second max video on some of those things. So, you know, kind of going back to that, like, how do we insert this into social media? Because, you know, people are trying to use social media and put that video content out there because everybody's saying do video content. So, and do you have any other like examples or anything like that about, you know, either products or services that you've seen, you know, people using kind of that story aspect?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work in different industries. So like one, I guess that comes to mind is in the dental world.
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's easy as a dentist to say, I'm here to save your teeth and
Yes.
talk all about me. But, whether you're an orthodontist, pediatric dentistry, whatever it is, when you can get that patient who's had a great experience
Yeah.
and you get them on camera and they're talking about you, and then, we're able to capture B-roll of what
Mhm.
that experience looks like
Right.
based on what that client says. I mean, it's money.
Let-
It's pure money.
Let's talk about that for a sec. You brought that up, B-roll. Okay. Can you first, let's define what B-roll is.
Sure,
Can
sure.
you define what B-roll
Yeah.
is?
At least the way I define
Yes.
B-roll, those are the images that you can shoot with your camera that complement what the topic is
Yeah.
being talked about. So, for example, going back to your sponsor here, if we're talking about how awesome Breaks Coffee is,
Yes.
then we're going to show an image of either, beans going
Yep.
in or somebody sipping, or, you see a little
Steam coming out. Yeah.
off there. Yeah.
I got goosebumps.
So yeah, anything that complements what's being said, those images, that's what we call B-roll.
Yeah. So how vital is that to this type of storytelling that we're talking about?
Oh, I think it's massive because it's, to me, video it's show and tell.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lots of times people can say something and just tell, but today's consumer is pretty savvy, and it's like, well, you say that,
Yeah.
but I want to see it for myself.
Interesting.
And so showing the B-roll, capturing that, you don't see that as much on social media because
Right.
it's all about the phone and it's on one person.
Yeah.
So B-roll is pretty important.
One of the things I love are like product reviews, like you mentioned going to Amazon, and I mean, do we even buy anything without like watching something about it first? And like, that's huge on Amazon right now, are like the videos that, I mean, they're almost taking that like a social media platform, and that's almost what Amazon is right now. Like, you can do that vertical video on there. You can do reviews, regular reviews, long reviews, short reviews, whatever. But that's what that is like showing the product, right? Like showing it, showing the different features. If you have a product, like show it, describe it with visuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of companies out there who unfortunately aren't using the power of video. And I think if you're not careful and you leave it too much up to customers or pseudo customers, they're going to create content and it may not be exactly what you're hoping them to say.
Right.
So you need to lead with that narrative, and you need to talk about, why you're in business, always talking about how you're trying to help the customer.
Yeah.
And there's some places out there where people are going to say some ridiculous stuff and they'll get it all wrong. And then when people go to search, that's what they're going to find is that poorly done video,
right,
that's got the wrong picture. So it's important to lead with your narrative.
Now, we talked a little bit about social media video. Let's talk about another, what I personally think is, and I think you'll agree with this, I personally think is a good spot for this type of storytelling video. It's a website, right? Your website. What are some like good places on a website to kind of feature some of these videos?
Yeah, I think it depends upon, kind of how your website's built out.
Okay.
The front page is a great place to put a video, especially if it's quote unquote above the fold.
Yeah.
Kind of, maybe one of the first things that people see. and that video really should be kind of all encompassing. It may tell a customer story, but it needs to include, more, maybe a little bit about you as well.
Gotcha.
There's the different ways to do that.
Yeah.
You could have a page dedicated to testimonials. I know a lot of websites have that, but you could actually create different videos about the different aspects of your product or service. And, those may be shorter, but the nice part about a website is people want to know about you. They want to know about your product or service. And so you don't need to worry about making a short. I know it's kind of a big deal these days, which, kind of, it's a little frustrating for me.
Right.
Cause if I want to know something, I want to know about a company, give me the information. I can always hit pause, or I can click off to another site if I need to, but give me the goods. Tell me what's going down and why should I buy this? And a website's a great place to put a video.
Yeah. And I think like any product pages that you have, like, kind of like Amazon, have a little feature like a little B-roll feature video
Right.
on there or something, you know. Um, one of the things I do a lot of is like employee intros, you know, just kind
Yeah.
of getting to know who is behind the scenes at this
Yeah.
particular company, you know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean? And then that can help tell your story of your business.
Well, I mean, that's a great point we hadn't really talked about yet. But so many people, I think, when they think about video marketing, it's you're Tarzan and you're pounding your chest,
Yeah.
you're talking about your business. But these days, where recruitment
Yeah.
is really
Recruitment's
really
huge.
needed.
Yes.
You got to find good customers, or
Yep.
excuse me, good employees, not
Yeah.
just customers.
Yep.
So having your employees discuss,
Mm.
what they like, and
Yeah.
they always say that you can tell a really good culture with a business if the business never talks about the culture.
Yeah.
You just see it.
Interesting.
And,
Yeah.
and video is a great way to have employees talk about how great it is to work there, and
Yeah.
the benefits, and working with each other,
Mm.
and getting off on days when the kids aren't feeling great, what have you.
Right.
The recruitment, retention, all of that, those are great strategies and reasons to use video.
Mm. All right. Well, we are about at that mark,
Jeez,
Jeff,
that went fast.
where yeah, I know, but this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Okay. Your one thing. So everybody that has been watching, let's see, we have about 4 total,
All right, sweet.
has been waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
Your one thing. So out of everything that we've been talking about, and like I said at the beginning of this episode, barely scratched the surface of what we could actually, go into. But what's one thing that you want people to take away from this episode?
Buy Chiefs tickets. No, just
Oh,
joking.
man.
I know. Steelers fan over there.
Yeah.
The most important thing that, and you actually said the word earlier, so I appreciate this. It's the word perspective.
Okay.
I think that, and this supersedes video marketing.
Yeah.
But we all, as business owners, as marketers, we need to look at any situation with a different perspective. So, like we said before, many businesses, they come into the situation with their marketing where they're the hero of the story,
Yeah.
instead of being the guide. And so I think it behooves all of us to jump out from behind the selfie camera,
Yeah.
and look at things with a different perspective. What does that look like? So I don't want the plumber talking to me. So therefore, you shouldn't be the plumber yourself talking, to borrow from earlier in the episode. So I think perspective is massive when you can really look at your audience through that third lens, and say, okay, so they're like I was 10, 20 years ago, whenever your business has started. So how do I want to be talked to or talked with?
Yeah.
And I think once you gain perspective on your marketing and not look at it just through the lens of yourself, that's going to open up a whole new set of doors.
Nice. Perspective. One thing. Now, do you have any, that was great.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for reading or anything like that? Like we mentioned, story, like Story Brand.
Story Brand by Don Miller is really, really good.
Yeah.
John Acuff has, we probably don't have enough time to get into this, but John Acuff, he quoted a story about how statistics and story conflict. And it's really easy to talk about statistics, but again, psychological studies show that when you're putting out content and you're using story to lead, people will remember that story way more than they will statistics. And that's a discussion for another day.
That is another discussion. Yes. And I like, even on YouTube, like making YouTube video content and stuff like that, like storytelling is kind of the direction that is going. And a lot of that kind of stems maybe from some viral video type stuff, but even like now with like products and anything like that, of doing like a product review or something like that, a lot of that, like people are engaging more with like a storytelling type video rather than just here's the facts. You know what I mean?
And you see that more and more with, I don't know the specific brands. I saw some yesterday, but you're seeing this more where you're showing a product and you're showing how this product is part of somebody's life from the time that they were young until older.
Yeah.
And I think the NFL even did something like that also, where, you know, that football is a part of our lives when we're younger, but then as we get older, we pass it on to our kids, our grandkids, whatever.
Yeah.
Those are great examples of stories where you just show the chronology of somebody's life and how a product or service interacts with it. That's really good storytelling.
Yeah.
Maybe a little overplayed these days, but
there is a viral commercial going around. I don't think it was a US commercial. I think it was a European commercial. I don't think I saw it on, I'm getting to a point here. I don't think I saw it on TV. I think I saw it like, you know, floating on the web somewhere, but it was this grandpa who the grandchild came, you know, to visit and everything, but the grandpa couldn't lift the child. And so he was like very like discouraged about that. And so what he started doing is he's like started working out, lifting weights, and he started kind of lifting it like he would lift. I can't do it with this bar here. Like lifting it like he would lift a child, you know what I mean? And so kind of lifting weights, and like his wife would come in and be like, you know, what are you doing? You know, I'm too old to work out type thing. And then like some other people would be like, what is he doing? But at the end, you know, the kicker of it, and it like almost it was like a tearjerker type commercial, is like the end is the grandchild comes back in, you know, to visit the grandpa, and he's able to lift the grandkid up and like lift him up like he was lifting those weights and stuff, and then like give him a hug and everything. And I don't even remember what the product was. I don't, but I remember how big of an impact that commercial had. Just, you remember it, right? And I think that's kind of what we're talking about in some of this, is like there's power in that.
Yeah, I mean, if you just watch the first, it's probably 3 or 4 minutes of the movie Up, the Pixar movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
so good.
I admit I cry every time I watch it.
Yeah,
and
right.
I mean, that's like 2 or 3 minutes of a cartoon video, and the storytelling of that is so powerful.
Yeah, right.
That, I mean, if it, you know, we buy with emotion. So if you can make your audience feel emotion around your product, they're probably going to buy.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for being on this episode. It goes fast, right?
Way fast.
It goes really fast. And before we sign off, I just want to bring this up again. This video playbook. If you are looking at different, my wife just sent that commercial to me. She must have been looking it up. I'm glad that she's watching this, actually.
Somebody loves me.
Thank you. She put a comment in, it was last week, and it totally threw me off. It was hilarious. Griffin Snow, great chat, fellas. Thanks for the S52X video. Oh, hey, excellent. You watched that to troubleshoot some stuff. It looks like that must be coming from, that's on YouTube. Must be coming from my other channel over there. Thanks, Griffin, for jumping in that chat. Back to this video playbook. I'm just going to pop this up again. Go download this. It's free. It's a digital guide to help you enhance your web presence with video. I've got some different niche communities in there that might be like bakery. Look at that, a bakery one. And so then we kind of go into some, you know, measuring the video performance, kind of what to look out for as far as like analytics go and things like that, and how to promote it. There's so much information in here. I strongly encourage you to go download that video playbook. I'm so confused where my mouse is, Jeff. So confused.
It's the white hand.
Yeah. I want to thank the Breaks for being a sponsor and providing coffee for us to drink during this episode. Yeah. Okay. I do want to bring this up too. I'm going to pop this picture up. This is the remaining schedule. This kind of overlay is really strange, Jeff. This is the remaining Video Lab live show schedule for the fall, and there is no episode next week. Note it, no episode next week because of the holiday here in the States, and we will pick things back up on October 16th with Sam Thorson from Epicosity. He's a growth strategist at Epicosity, so he's got some great information that he's going to be bringing about some video marketing basics, the 5 stages of awareness, and kind of like how to go about this whole like video marketing thing. So, and then the rest of October, Kim Vanderpool is going to be back on. And then I have Chuck Shaver, who is a LinkedIn expert. Matt from LinkedIn,
he could have helped you.
came in with a comment. So comments are working on LinkedIn.
It's working. That's good to know.
That's good to know. Okay, so check that out. I will put that on my Facebook page as well, the remaining schedule. And we're 4 episodes. You're the 4th episode, Jeff.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Forefront.
Yeah, Forefront.
Like
hey, I wonder if I did that on purpose.
Maybe.
No, I don't think I did. Okay, tell us one more time about this conference that you're having.
The I Hate Marketing Conference.
Okay.
It'll be at the El Riyadh Shrine.
Okay.
I just messed that up. Downtown Sioux Falls, October the 26th from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m.
And where do we get tickets?
So go to ihatemarketing.com for tickets. Tickets are $75.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for being on the episode. Yeah. Thank you for those of you who tuned in to watch. Thanks for the comments as well and the chat. That video that I mentioned that my wife sent, I'm going to put that, I'll put that in like the comments so people can watch it. It's such a good commercial, but I appreciate it. Thanks everyone. And we will see you in 2 weeks, October 16th with Sam